Tonight's CCN Sports Spotlight on high school football is being brought to you by Bill Marks Auto Sales, Curves for Women, Mertz Meats, Better's Jewelers, Petro All-American, Blue Heron Sports, the Watson Inn, and Hawkins Chevrolet.
Turbottville National Bank, your full-featured source for financial services. We provide complete loan services when you need additional finances. A wide variety of savings plans to meet all your financial goals. The benefits of the Winter 50 checking account. The power of PC and telebanking. Now you can manage your money from home with your personal computer or telephone. Plus the convenience of a drive-up ATM and night deposit box. Visit our website at ttnb.com. Your hometown bank for over 88 years. Turbottville National Bank, member FDIC.
Save on SUVs, minivans, and wagons. Spangler Motors has the solution to your family's transportation needs. Drive away in a versatile and roomy 9-passenger Ford Expedition or Explorer and head for the hills in the luxury of a Mercury Mountaineer. Comfort, convenience, and safety are just some of the features your family will enjoy in the Ford Windstar and Mercury Villager. And experience crisp cornering and lots of room in the Ford Taurus and Escort wagons. For all your family's transportation moves, make the move to Spangler Motors, Route 405, Milton.
Once again, Milton Transportation strives in their continuing education by using the Pennsylvania Motor Truck Association Safety Laboratory, visiting area high schools, demonstrating the No Zone, and hosting the Pennsylvania North Central Safe Driving Competition. Just as education is a stepping stone in our lives, so is taking those first steps towards safety. To bring the Pennsylvania Transportation Safety Laboratory to your school or organization, please call 742-8774. Milton Transportation, sharing our knowledge with our youth, tomorrow's leaders.
We do it all. Village Fireplace will completely install in your home a heat and glow fireplace from start to finish using wood, stone, or marble from our own shops. We offer design service or bring in your own design and we will build it for you. Visit our showroom and let us show you the beauty and warmth the fireplace can bring to your home. Log sets also available in different styles to choose from. We also offer year-round barbecue parts and supply. Village Fireplace, your authorized heat and glow dealer.
High school football coaches have a difficult time each season putting their best possible team onto the football field. Besides the constant possibility of injury and illness, coaches must contend with such things as players relocating, moving from the area, choosing for whatever reason not to play, academic difficulty and ineligibility and graduation losses. Dealing with the constant restructuring that coaches do because of graduation losses, this is how CCN's teams have fared. Through the magic of videotape and the mastery of our editors, we have put together some clips of last year's football season, highlighting the graduated players team by team. Here are those clips. The Milton High School Black Panthers with second-year head coach Max Schneider must replace the entire heart of their football team. Starting center Paul Muscarella, quarterback Craig Ulrich, and speedy tailback Jason Fenton, all members of the class of 1999, have graduated. Jim Wetzel, veteran head coach of the Lewisburg Green Dragons, has himself retired, leaving the Green Dragons with a first-year head coach, Ira Keeperman, one of last year's assistants. That is a significant change in the Lewisburg program. The Green Dragons must also replace Ryan Wetzel, their go-to big play Mr. Everything player. Wetzel was on everyone's all-star team. He had an outstanding year in 1998, both offensively and defensively, and was arguably Lewisburg's most exciting player. And football is not even his favorite sport. Ryan is going on to what he hopes is a career in the big leagues in baseball. Besides Wetzel, Lewisburg has also lost Jeremy Snyder and Chad McKibben, offensive and defensive linemen, and Andrew Strossner, linebacker and defensive end. Moving to the Warrior End defenders, Coach Jim Zack needs to replace some vital cogs in his football team. Excellent pass receiver and very good athlete Dathan Truckenmiller has taken his considerable talents to Wilkes University. Truckenmiller was a human highlight film for the defenders on the football field, as well as an all-star basketball player for Andy Kyle. Adam McCormick, his quarterback, must also be replaced, along with linemen Brian Bricker and Alan Hall. The defenders were exciting in 1998. Finally, the Danville Ironmen. How will Coach Carmen DeFrancesco replace a player such as non-pareil tailback Jake Reedy? In this play against Warrior Run, Reedy shows his versatility, avoiding a bevy of would-be tacklers on his way to the promised land. Besides being an exceptional football player, Jake Reedy performed on the wrestling mats for Danville and was also an excellent track athlete. Reedy is not the only quality player Danville must replace, as they have lost receiver and defensive back Andrew Raup and receiver kicker Jim Coombe. Carmen DeFrancesco will be hard-pressed to come up with capable replacements for these top-notch players. Coming up right after the break, we'll sit down with the head football coaches from all of our schools.
Tonight's CCN Sports Spotlight on high school football is being brought to you by Holsizer Chevrolet, Kurtz Kawasaki, Village Fireplace, Turbotville National Bank, V&H Motors, Milton Trans, Ham's Bakery, Spangler Motors, Allen's True Value, and Robert E. Benyon. Looking for a good quality used vehicle? We have 4x4, sport utilities, pickup trucks, vans, and sedans with options and low mileage and warranties where available. Whether your vehicle is new or used, keep it running in top performance with V&H Motors Parts and Service Departments. Our service department will be glad to help you with your warranty work as needed, and of course any general maintenance of your new and used vehicle. And if the need arises, use our body shop with over 30 years of bodywork experience. V&H Motors, family owned and operated since 1936, Route 45, west of Lewisburg.
Would you know a winner if you saw one? What would you look for? Strength, endurance, guts. These are the things that come before glory. In everything you do, demand the best.
Husqvarna. Tough name, tough equipment. Available at these servicing retailers.
Allen's True Value.
For the freshest meats in all of Northumberland County, there's no other place but Mertz Meats. Our meat is processed here on site. Sausage is stuffed. Pork chops are smoked in our own smokehouse. Beef is cut, wrapped, and frozen in quarters and halves. Delicious meats start here first. Mertz Meats, Route 147 in Northumberland. The freshest meat in all of Northumberland County.
Curves for Women welcomes you to their 30-minute fitness and weight loss center. Curves is a unique circuit training system combining hydraulic-resistant machines with aerobic recovery stations. Music and a knowledgeable instructor will help motivate you to a workout designed to meet your target goals. Memberships vary from annual to our most popular $29 a month. So try our 30-day challenge to lose inches at the place where fitness and weight loss can put those curves back where they belong. Curves for Women, 518 Walnut Street, Danville.
Max Schneider, I'd like to begin with you. You represent Milton High School Black Panthers. Before we start asking about your team, I'd like you to give us a little bit of advice. Ira Keeperman is in his first year as a head coach here in this league. You had that experience last year. Is there a piece of advice you can give to him?
Well, all I can tell him is keep the chin up. I know you had a large graduation class last year and had some super athletes leave your program, as I did the year that I took over. I heard you talk earlier about the only problem you really had this week was going to sleep, and I had that same thing last year, but just keep plugging away, and better things will happen for you in the future.
Thank you, Max. Now about Milton football. You have lost the entire center of your football team. You lost your starting center, you lost your quarterback, you've lost your tailback who could break loose at any time. how can you possibly fill those gaps? You don't just quit. What do you do? How do you go about filling those gaps?
Well, that's what your JV program's for. Last year we had a lot of young kids playing in our JV program, and we worked really hard on our JV program last year. We went out to really to win JV football games last year and put kids in places that we thought they would be playing this year. One of the things that you mentioned, our offensive center. Well, we were fortunate enough to inherit an offensive center from an opposing school, Lewisburg High School. Our center this year has transferred over from Lewisburg, and he has really filled in a spot that we had a void at. But again, our JV program last year, we played a lot of young kids, and that's how we're filling the voids this year with a good nucleus of JV ball players from last year.
You lost Paul Muscarella. He's the starting center. You lost your quarterback, Craig Ulrich. You lost Jason Fenton, tailback. But you still have some quality players coming back. For instance, who?
For instance, what we have coming back is Craig Ulrich has a younger brother, Ty Ulrich. Ty has been a quarterback under Craig for the last 2 years. This year he's stepping up as a junior. He's stepping in as our quarterback at this time as the #1 quarterback. He's been in the program. Of course, he lived with Craig last year. Of course, they talked all the time at home, the dinner table with mom and dad. So, you know, Ty has a pretty good idea of what the system's all about, and Ty's going to be a good one before he's done. In the backfield, losing Jason Fenton, of course, that's a lot of speed to lose. Jason Fenton came out last year as a first-year player. Really didn't run the ball well until about the 5th game on. Learned how to run the football, read the blocks and stuff, and we're very fortunate back there right now. I've got 6 or 7 kids vying for a starting spot in our wishbone backfield. And we have some good team speed this year with some kids like Jimmy Highstand, Jason Jarrett, Roger Ball. Right on down the line, these kids all have some pretty good speed. Last year I talked a lot of these kids into going out for our track program so they could learn how to run, and they went out and ran track and learned how to run. Now we're teaching them how to run the football. And up front, again, we've got some kids up front that I really think is going to help us. I mentioned Jeremy Lennick at our offensive center, but our 2 guards this year, we have a right guard this year, and Eric Strasser, who played tight end last year. The year before, he was a fullback. Out of necessity, we're moving him to guard, and he's going to be a fine when he's a senior up front. And the other guard is Jay Snyder, who has 3 years of varsity experience already under his belt. Played last year a little bit heavier than he is this year. He was like 255, 260 last year. He's cut down to about 235 this year, and he's really running well as a guard for us. And at our tackles, we're going to be very young on our tackles with our 2 tackles right now are going to be 2 sophomores, and one of them is Bobby Benyon, who started last year 2 ways for us as a freshman. If Bobby ever can grow into his feet, who knows how big he's going to be. I've never seen a kid with a size 18 shoe before, and this lad has 18 shoes, so I'm hoping he grows into his feet. And at tight end, we've got a good group of tight ends. One comes to mind, Tommy Snyder. Tommy Snyder starting his 3rd year as a varsity football player. Tommy's a very good athlete. He can catch the ball real well. He can run the ball real well, and Tommy's bringing a great attitude to the team this year. So offensively, our voids on offense, I think, are going to be filled.
We talked about Caleb Fetterman a lot last year when we were doing our broadcast, and I know he's an exciting player to watch. He's a big, strong kid, but when he needs it, he can also turn on the speed.
Yeah, Caleb's our fullback out of our wishbone offense, and yes, Caleb came to camp a little bit heavier this year. He last year played about 195 pounds. He came this year about 215, 220, and that comes from being in the weight room. He really has hit the weights really hard. Maybe lost a little step in his giddy-up, but we're getting a little bit of that weight off of him because he just spent a lot of time lifting and forgot that he needed to run a little bit more. But right now he's getting back into playing shape, and he averaged 4.5 yards out of the fullback spot last year. And when we needed a yard or two, you know, we went to Caleb, and this year will be the same thing. He's a great kid, and the bad thing about Caleb is he's so young. Caleb is a senior, just turned 16 years old. I'd like to be able to redshirt him for a couple of years because he's got a few years eligibility left, but Caleb will do really fine for us at fullback.
You mentioned Jason Fenton's difficulties in making the adjustments. Let's talk about that for a minute. You have probably one of the fastest kids in the league, in the track league, in Jason Fenton. So what's the problem? Why is it that he can't immediately step onto the football field and be a great football player?
Well, one is reading blocks. And that's the first thing a kid has to learn as a tailback, how to read his blocks. And Jason didn't do that real well at first. He would just take the ball, and all of a sudden he thought he needed to go outside and run down a sideline, so he outrun people. And of course in football we have blocking schemes up front that we're blocking a certain area, and if you don't go to that certain area and all of a sudden want to bounce things outside, that doesn't happen. And basically that's what Jason's problem was at first. And learning a new system, football wasn't on his mind at first. It was basketball, because we all know how great of a basketball player he was. So we had to get the mindset of basketball out of there and put football in there, and it took a few weeks to do that.
We have been watching some video of last year's team, and also of kids that will be big news at Milton this year. That's what you're watching there at home. I'd like to switch over to Ira Kieberman, the Lewisburg head coach. Now, you're replacing a legend.
Yes.
Down at Lewisburg.
Yeah.
Jim Wetzel has been an outstanding coach for a long time, but you've also lost his son,
yes,
who was. This is a team game. Football is a team game. There's no question about that. But he certainly was an outstanding athlete who played football very, very well. So, how do you intend to try to fill that void?
You don't. You just we got to run down to Berwick, I guess, and recruit. But the reality is that, you know, you just don't replace somebody who's your career rushing leader, your single game rushing leader. He holds all sorts of records combined with baseball records too. He's a career single game, single season career holder in baseball too. He's a tremendous athlete. You just don't replace him. In fact, I've always said that you can compare him to like a 100-year flood. You know, if you're lucky, you might see one, but you know, many times you don't. But what you do is you have your younger kids, you know, the spotlight's on them now, and it's time for them to develop and blossom, and it's their day in the sun, and you have to hope that they can step it up and you know, share the load, as opposed to one person carrying your offense now. Now you have to rely on 3 or 4 people to do it, and I think we'll be able to do that to respect this year, because we do have some talented people coming back.
I remember watching the Warrior Run Lewisburg game last year. It was a great, great game. It was like 2 different games at the same time. It was all Lewisburg the first half, all Warrior Run the second half, and it was Ryan Wetzel and Luke Moore, and it was just a great game to watch.
Oh yeah, we have 2 talented running backs on the same field. It's bound to happen. You know, again with a Ryan Wetzel or a Luke Moore, you can stop them for a while, but you can't stop them forever, and you just have to hope that you know, that when they do break one, that it's not as damaging as it was to us in the 4th quarter when they were doing it to us. They played a nice game in that second half.
Ira, you mentioned that you have some young players who are going to step up and see their day in the sun. For instance, who do you have coming back that you know are going to be your good players this year?
As far as in the backfield, there's Sam Snyder, who's an extremely talented runner and receiver type of athlete. A wonderful kid, great leader for us on the team. Mike O'Connor at quarterback. He comes from a family of football coaches, and he's like a football coach for us on the field. Really sharp quarterback for us. You know, and we have Chad Lehman at fullback, who's a kid with a lot of speed, and he's a tough kid. I'm very happy with the way they're developing in there. Also, we've got Brandon Cram. We've moved him into the backfield. And Mike Berge will be in the mix with that, and as will David Ross, who's a little younger. But those people there, I feel that, you know, we might be able, we'll have to distribute the ball more, but I think we can hopefully be as effective offensively. Then with our receivers, we have at tight end. You want me to take the shot from 2? Let's see. What happens? We have Nick Slaughter back, and James Earhart sharing the tight ends. Both are, I think, both gifted tight ends. And also we have Eric Wetzel. We have some nice team speed, you know, to share it. Also, there's a person who's came out in the middle of last year, and now he's there for a full year, Noah Hoffman, who's also seems like he'll be a nice receiver. The skill kids, I'm very happy with. To us, my biggest question is our development of our line. We only have 1 returning offensive lineman coming back, and Josh Zane, and thank goodness for Josh Zane. He's a mountain of a man. He's a big horse. He'll be at our tackle. We have Tracy Fetterman, who had been a tight end, who we're moving to guard this year. The kid's tough and he can run, but you know, there's a lot of lack of experience coming in there. And then of course the center guard, center will be Josh Sadison, the guard will be Nick Pastore, and on the other tackle will probably be Brian Durr. They're all inexperienced, you know, and these are the people that you really need to be able to step up to be able to be competitive offensively, and that's really where our true work is working with these people.
You're mentioning names that are a staple at Lewisburg for a long time. You mentioned, for instance, Eric Wetzel. Is he a relation to Ryan?
Yes, there seems to be a lot of Wetzels in Lewisburg there, you know, a bit of Wetzelvania, I guess. Yes, he's the son of Greg Wetzel, who is the cousin to Jim. So I guess they're cousins also in that relation.
The name Snyder also very, very big, particularly in track at Lewisburg.
Well, yes. Well, Sam Snyder and his sister, who was an All-American in college this year out at Wake Forest. Great runners. Sam Snyder and Nick Slaughterback are both members of that relay team that came in third in the state, I believe it was this past year. Yeah, we have a great track program at Lewisburg.
You mentioned Mike Berge. I'm assuming that's no relation to the Mike Berge, the great athlete from Milton.
I sure hope not, because if he was still eligibility, we'd be still using him. You know, Mike was a great athlete in Milton, and yeah.
Yeah, no.
Mike has been an outstanding athlete for a lot of people, and he certainly left a legacy at Milton. We're going to be back in a few minutes to talk about Danville football and Warrior Run football, so you stay right where you are.
Our biggest and toughest ATVs are bigger and tougher than ever this year. A new and improved torque converter design smooths out power delivery over a wider operating range, proving best what Kawasaki is known for, rugged dependability. More horses have been added for quicker acceleration, as has a carburetor heater for smooth operation when the weather gets cold and nasty. Kawasaki's Prairie ATVs, conceived, built, and now fine-tuned for enthusiasts just like you. Come visit us at Kurtz Kawasaki, 3 miles east of Allenwood.
Pam's Bakery has the best homemade cookies around. A full-line eat-in bakery offering pies, pastries, cookies, donuts, bread rolls, and bagels. Visit each day for specials from sticky buns to shoe-fly pie. Sit and enjoy a cup of Maxwell House coffee and try one of our specialty syrups. Pam specializes in beautifully decorated wedding cakes with fountains and stairways to brighten that special day. Pam's Bakery and Coffee Shop now at 2 locations, 54 Broadway Milton and Route 15 Allenwood.
Size, hold, hold, size, The Holsizer team is hopping to take care of the area's automotive needs. From our great sales team to our quality parts and service department and body shop. Don't forget Holsizer for the complete line of Chevy cars and trucks, because your dollar goes farther. So hop on in to Holsizer Chevrolet, located on Route 54 in Montgomery.
At Hawkins Chevrolet, they're not just your #1 dealership, they're your first choice for auto parts.
If you're in the market for quality auto parts and accessories, you want only the best. Hawkins Chevrolet in Danville.
Hawkins Chevrolet is an official Goodwrench service center.
And that means we have genuine GM parts, made by the company that made the car.
Hawkins Chevrolet knows price is important.
We guarantee that our GM parts and accessories are the lowest you'll find.
Hawkins Chevrolet, they're your genuine GM parts dealer.
We're here at CCN Central with our area football coaches. We're moving now to Jim Zach from Warrior Run. Jim, you had a balanced attack last year, a great running back, but you lost the quarterback and you lost that athlete who probably is the best pass receiver Warrior Run has ever seen. He just had circus catch after circus catch. So what do you do now? Do you switch over totally, go completely to the ground game with Luke Moore, or do you try to keep the attack balanced?
I wish you could just run the ball in this league, Carl, but as you know, you can, and so you got to be able to pass the ball. I still say throw the ball to Truckamiller, so it doesn't really matter. It's just this guy's going to have to wear a different number. We're fortunate. We lost some great players, but there are some guys that have waited their time and are ready to go, and so we're happy about that. But no, we're going to have a balanced attack again.
What happened to Dathan Truckamiller? Where did he matriculate?
Dathan Truckamiller is at Wilkes, and Brian Bricker is at Mansfield, and Eric Stallnecker is also at Wilkes. So 3 guys playing this year.
2 good pass receivers that you won't be able to go to this year. I know Eric Stallnecker caught some big passes for you last year. So who are the young players that you're going to rely on?
Yeah, I think certainly, you talk about Luke Moore, everyone knows him, but, Luke Moore is only going to run if you block up front, and we all know that. And we're fortunate there where we have some guys who have experience coming back, who have worked in the off-season, and we're happy that they're there. I had a kid come to my office and say he was interested in playing football, didn't know him real well, and during a winter workout, I saw him take a base football, and dunk it, pretty much standing still. And so Brandon Allison has become our tight end. He's a guy I didn't know about, and he's a great athlete. He just isn't up to speed so much in football, but as he develops, he's one of our tight ends. On the other side is Alex Yannicone. It's his second year. Alex is a very smart player and a good blocker. And those two guys man are outsides. On the insides, on the right side, Bill Runkle returns as a 2-year starter, and Bill was a tight end last year. And the good thing is Bill's going to catch as many passes this year at tackle as he did at tight end last year. So Bill is the biggest guy on our team. He's a strong kid, and he'll just get after you day in and day out, and he's probably one of the best blockers we have. Next to him is his partner in crime, I guess, is Charlie Mingle. Charlie's the most excitable guy I've ever seen. He gets to practice at 6 in the morning, goes full speed from the time he comes in the locker room till he goes home. And those are the two anchors. We had an unfortunate incident at our center. Mike Runkle has worked and is the strongest guy on our team, had some problems, had some chest pains, went to the hospital and found out he has some sort of heart problem. It has to be out at least 4 weeks until they figure out what that is, and certainly our thoughts are with him and hope that he's all right, not so much to play football, but, for his life in general. And so Sean Miller's had to take over there and only had 2 or 3 days work now at center. And so he's going to have to step up and play where probably wasn't expected to play. Over at the other side at guard is Damian Beagle. Damian's a senior, has worked, probably the best technician in our line, and he's a guy we're going to rely on to pull and lead that sweep around the corner for Luke Moore. At tackle is Steve Shoup. Steve returns. He's worked hard in the offseason, had some knee problems last year. Comes back, and it's an all-senior front, except that one of our tight ends in Yannicone. So they're a good group. I mean, they get along well, they like to have fun, and they work hard. In the backfield at tailback is Luke Moore, and we're going to, certainly give the ball to him. He's a great talent. It's really hard to imagine, when you watch him run, how easy he makes it look. So he's going to be the key to our run game. At fullback, we're going to split time. Curtis Rovenold is a senior who's quicker, has some experience. The fullback really has to know a lot in our offense of what to do. And with him is Jeremy Comfer, who's a junior, who's the only real junior in our backfield that's going to see time. Jeremy is a tailback, but he'll have to play fullback this year, so we can get him in the lineup. When we throw the ball, which we will, we have Eric and Todd Fritz, and they're both great. I don't know, one's better at catching the ball, one's better at playing defense, but I'd be lost to say if I can tell them apart. They both work hard. They're quiet, but they're certainly tough kids. When we go with double tights and bring in a wing, Clint Swartz, who's probably the biggest hitter on our team, will be in there, and he'll carry the ball also. Clint's one of our tri-captains, and boy, he'll get after you. He's an intense guy, and he's the only guy I know that after double sessions and a session at night runs 4 or 5 miles. So he's really hard to tire out. The only real change on defense, those same guys are in the mix there. When we bring in our safety and Brian Marr, who's a great hitter for us, he comes in at safety. And John Confer, Jeremy's brother, who's also senior, is certainly vying for a spot in our offensive line and our defensive line. So those are our mainstays there. And then when we go 4 and 5 out, we'll bring in Matt Long. Bill Rauscher's looking for a spot in there for some playing time. And so you have a lot of guys who no one is Dathan Truckamiller. But the Fritzes together probably make one Dathan Truckamiller, and so I'm pretty confident there. And our quarterback, Kurt Wardman, is a junior, but he's been on the varsity since his freshman year. And if there is one disadvantage for Curtis, when you're used to looking at a quarterback that does things a certain way and able to throw the ball down the field, Curtis sometimes gets more criticism than he deserves from me because I think, any pass you throw, you should complete. And so, I'm on him sometimes where he hasn't only played 2 games of varsity experience, but he's come a long way, and he's got a strong arm.
You mentioned the Fritzes. We should clarify that for people. The Fritzes are identical twins. I had them in class, and it's impossible to tell them apart. One says, well, I have this scar right here. If you look real close with a magnifying glass, you might see that scar. But they are identical, and they're both good kids. They've done some good things for Warrior Run already, and certainly you're looking for them to do that this year. You mentioned the importance of the fullback. Looking at that Lewisburg game again, I think you tried to go with a one-back set against them in the first half, and that didn't work too well, so you brought in your fullback, and automatically Luke Moore became the All-American.
Well, a lot of people ask, you know, what do we do at halftime, what adjustment we make? The only thing I did is I changed my shoes. I don't know what the other coaches said out there, but I changed my shoes, and coaches talked to the team, and certainly we were very fortunate that night.
Again, you've been watching video of last year's team. You're seeing the players who are not going to be there this year because they graduated, but also you're looking at some of the players who will impact on this year's program at Warrior Run. Moving to the Danville Ironmen, Carmen DeFrancesco. It's been a very good run for Danville football the last few years, but you have some players that you're not going to be able to use this year because they've graduated. I just think of all the great games I saw Jake Reedy play, and I can't imagine how you can come up with anybody who can do what he did.
Well, Carl, you're exactly right. He's going to be. We're really going to miss him. I've missed him already. He was just a great kid around workouts. He was just a fun kid. He loved football. He loved life in general, and I miss him so much. He just called me last night, or I'm sorry, 2 nights ago. He's in Reading now. And we spoke for a half hour on the phone, and he misses us, and I miss him, and we're not gonna. That's a big hole that we have to fill. Fortunately, we've got some really good players that have played for 3 years. You know, when I got the job 5 years ago, I went down to watch our junior high program. I figured I better start somewhere, and we went down to the 8th grade team, and I saw a group of kids in 8th grade that I thought, boy, they just look like they could be something. And watch them grow up, and then as sophomores, we played 6 guys as sophomores on that championship team that we had 2 years ago. They went undefeated, and those 6 sophomores played key roles. I mean, real key roles for us. So you look at them; they've started since their sophomore year, and I'll name them. They're Mike Finn and Cheyenne DeWald, Dean Reedy, Carmi DeFrancesco, Brett Merrill, Justin Ross. These guys have 18 years of varsity experience amongst them, and I hope I haven't missed anybody. Brett, Dean, Kyle, Cheyenne, yep, and they're all back again. And when you walk out there, Jim Zach made a real good point earlier. You almost feel like you can throw the football out there and just let them play. And I'm very fortunate, and I'll be the first guy to say it. You know, we've got a great run of talent here, and you know, I've rode the horse, and it's been a great ride, and it's not over yet. And we're really looking forward to this year, and we've lost some real key players, and you know, I'm going to miss Jake, of course, but Jimmy Coombe is as good as you'll see. Johnny Mitchell, our fullback, is gone. Our 2 tackles are gone. Robbie Geiger, Denny Mertz, they did a great job up front. Andrew Raup, who I thought had just an outstanding year for us, defensively as well as offensively. Ryan Johnson last year came out for football his first year, and he played nose guard for us, and that's a real key spot for us. We look for a real good one there, and he did a great job his first year playing football, so he's gone. So we've got some holes to fill. However, we've got some players that we feel that we can fill those holes with.
I don't think anybody's crying too much for Danville football.
No,
because
I know.
You have a lot of good players that you're going to be able to rely on. Yeah. You mentioned Andrew Raup. Let's talk about him for a minute. I was very impressed with him because he was so big, tall, and rangy. Yeah. But he also stayed with some of the better receivers on other teams.
He played the corner for us, and you know, our scheme is a lot of man coverage. I mean, we put those corners out there to dry. And other than Warrior Run, who did a great job against us, I thought we did a real good job. But Andrew covered, I'll give you a perfect example. We played Shikellamy last year in the 2nd game of the season. And we had just come off a loss, our opening game loss to Selinsgrove, and everybody was in shock. And I thought, I don't know how we're gonna handle this. And they had Bowman and that great wide receiver, and they just came off a real good win. And we beat Shikellamy 50-7. And Andrew Raup had 4 interceptions and covered their wide receiver. Carmi, my son, Carm, who we had planned to have him covered, bruised his thigh in the opening quarter, and he only played offense, and Raup came alive there, and he learned that position. And if my memory serves me correct, I think he wound up as an all-CSC defensive player, and we're really going to miss him. But, you know, people aren't crying for us, and they shouldn't. We have a veteran team. My job is to be like a hype meter. I've got to control the hysteria that's been going on here with, you know, people are talking undefeated season again, and all the players we have back, and we do have a lot of good players. But, Carl, that's why they play the game.
That's right.
On paper, if we could mail it in, yeah, I'd say we should go undefeated. We've got the veterans. We've got 3 All-Staters. Can you believe that? We have a first-team All-Stater, a second-team All-Stater, and a third-team All-Stater. So if we mail it in, we're undefeated. But we've got to play the games, and anything can happen.
We'll be back with some more comments from these coaches right after this.
Here's the reverse. DeFrancisco running. He's got some room. He's got lots of room down the near side of the field, and they're going to have to catch him. He's tiptoeing down the sideline, wrapped up and taken out of bounds.
Petro All-American Iron Skillet wants you to join them for their Friday night seafood buffet with peel and eat shrimp, crab legs, and more, including our plentiful soup and salad bar, a hot food bar with real mashed potatoes and homemade baked goods. Try our carving station, which comes with each buffet, and remember, Saturday night is our prime rib buffet. All children's buffets are just $2.39. So bring the whole family to the Iron Skillet restaurant. We feature buffets every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, open 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Your table is ready at the Watson Inn in Watsontown. The Watson Inn features cuisine of the highest caliber. From surf to turf, every dish is painstakingly prepared using only the finest ingredients. The Watson Inn is the perfect choice for your next catered affair. You'll find the relaxed atmosphere perfect for any occasion. Whether it's a quiet dinner with the family or a rollicking reunion, try the Watson Inn in Watsontown.
Bill Marks Auto Sales, located on Route 15 just north of Lewisburg, has a great selection of quality, late model, low mileage, and pre-owned vehicles. All exceed Bill Marks' high quality before they're sold. Stop by and browse the lot, and you'll find the prices clearly marked on the windshield. On-the-spot financing is available for qualified buyers, and most vehicles come with a 3-month, 3,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. At Bill Marks, count on superior service before and after the sale. Bill Marks Auto Sales, down-to-earth deals, down-to-earth prices from down-to-earth people. Did you know there's a new sporting goods store in our area? We have the best and largest assortment in catcher's equipment. Are you looking for a glove? Choice after choice of name brand gloves to help your game. Start off the season with baseballs, bats, and equipment, including custom screen printed jackets, hats, and uniforms. We have a lot to offer in fishing equipment and seasonal live bait. From color lures by Yozuri, hooks by Eagle Claw, with brand names like Berkley and Mepps, we want to be your #1 fishing accessory store. Blue Heron Sports Incorporated, Route 405 South in Milton.
We're back with our area football coaches. We're listening to what they have to say about this year's programs, and we were talking to Carmen DeFrancisco of the Danville Ironmen. It's certainly a daunting job to fit players into a cohesive unit and to make things happen for your football teams. Each year at the beginning, I know that as coaches you struggle with that. What do you look for, and how do you go about bringing your athletes to that level that they need to be to compete in this league? Carmen, we're going to start with you because I know you had some more things to say about this year's team.
Carl, we try to start that process in the summer. We have a pretty extensive off-season weightlifting program, which we're really proud of. And, you know, when you get a group of guys in the weight room from January till August, and you hang around with them all the time, that's where we build that spirit, camaraderie-ship, and it's worked for us. It's been a great way of hanging out together, working hard together. So we build that spirit all year long, and then hopefully we try to gear it down a little bit at the end of July and August. And when they come into camp, we're ready to roll. As we were saying earlier, we have some holes we have to fill. Fortunately, we don't have many on defense. We return 8. From a group that I thought was real good last year, and we have some people that I think can fill the holes. I didn't mention our defensive front, which we're really proud of. We have them all back. Mike Finn was an All-State. He was All-State for us last year. He's at one tackle. Matt Gerst again at the other one. He returns. Kyle Winterstein, defensive end, he returns. We lost Jimmy Coombe at the one defensive end. We think we have a real good one coming in there. Scotty Kozer, we feel, is going to fill the bill there. We have Mike Haddad playing there, Scotty Mertz, some real good players. Our nose guard, who has always been a key for us, when we start practice, we start with that position first. We've had some great ones, and we had a good one last year, but we think we found another good one. Mike Blesnick is going to do a real good job for us, along with Jeremy Fritz. Our secondary, we only lost one, Andrew Raup. They're in real good shape back there. Justin Ross, Carmi, Brett Merrill, and I'd just like to mention that Brett Merrill's been around for 3 years. He's one of those starters that we've had since his sophomore year, and he just knows every position on that field back there, and you put him out, and he reads a screen as well as I've seen anybody read the screens. So defensively, that's where we start with it. I'm sure if you ask these guys, that'll be the same thing, and we're really solid up front. Offensively, we lost those 2 tackles, but where do you hear this? We got 2 guys that, we have a kid named Mike Humphreys, and I think I heard, what was it, Max, about the 18 size shoe? We have one too, Max. How about that? Mike Humphreys is 6'5", 372, and he played on our JV team last year. And believe it or not, he went to a couple camps this year and worked his rear end off and has lost some weight. He's been in the weight room, and he's going to start for us there. If he gets off the ball a little more aggressive, we think he can really do a job for us. Matt Halliday is going to be on the other side, and he's 297. And Mike Finn's in the middle at 262. And Dean, Reedy, and Cheyenne, who've been there, Finney, Reedy, and Cheyenne have been there for 3 years. And we just have, I mean, we really feel good about what's up front. So, you know, I'm feeling pretty good, Carl, believe it. I really am. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to enjoy this ride, and I hope we stay healthy. But everybody's got to realize that, boy, like that, it can be over. And I'm going to allude to the fact that we had a team similar to this in '96, and we started out 5-0, and we had an injury every week. We lost a starter, Jake Reedy first, Brian Hummer, and they went down like flies, and then we wound up 5-5. So yeah, it looks good, but we have to line it up and play. A quarterback position, we're not ready at that position yet. We're thinking about moving Carmi to running back. You know, how do you replace Jake? We feel if he can be replaced, we have a guy to replace him. But then what do you do at QB? And we have 2 players, Justin Ross, who's been a backup now for 3 years, and we feel he can step in. And we have a youngster, Nicky Lemon, who's a junior, that we feel will be real good. So we have some things that we can work in there, but we've got to ride these seniors. This is a senior group. They've got a tremendous amount of experience. They've won a lot. They've been through a heartbreaking season of losses. You know, they've been undefeated as sophomores, district champions, CSC champions. So, you know, we're going to ride that horse.
Well, you experimented the last couple of years with having Reedy and DeFrancesco both in the same backfield, and Justin Ross at your quarterback. And I know from the broadcaster's booth, we thought that was a very, very good trio of athletes to work with.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Now this year, what's happening if we do that? If we move Carm, which looks like that's what's going to happen. These guys can load up. I mean, I'm not that. I mean, if I were coaching against me, he's in the backfield. We're going to load up. When you take him away from center, you know, Jake was great and Carmi was great because they complemented each other so well. If you tried to stop the bootlegs outside, we're going to come up the middle, and now we've lost one of those. So, we're hoping Justin can get his feet moving a little quicker. He throws the ball real well, but we've lost that movement at QB. So we're still not really settled on what we're going to do yet, but we'll have it worked out.
I would like to change gears a bit here and talk about some rules. There have been rules the last couple of years that have, I'm sure, been on your minds. The spiking rule that really was, I guess, started in high school by Jim Roth at Southern Columbia. He simply made his quarterback do it, and it was something that hadn't been done before. The officials allowed it to happen in a big playoff game, and then the next year it was on the books. What do you think of that rule, Max, the spiking rule? Is that going to be something that you will use?
Oh, yeah, everybody's going to be working on the spiking rule. It helps at the end of a half or a quarter where you need to stop the clock. Of course, everybody knows spiking rule is to stop the clock. And just to elaborate on a spiking rule, what it is a quarterback has to step back from the center, throw the ball directly down at the heels, we call it the heels of the center. The ball has to be drilled into the ground between the guards. And generally, like I said, it's used to stop the clock when you need to get the clock stopped and get back in the huddle and save yourself a timeout. You know, we have not used a spike rule in the past few years, but you know, we've always worked on it. It's just something to stop the clock and save yourself a timeout.
Ira, what do you think of that rule? Is that a good rule or not?
Sure. It's a lot of rules. I guess it all ends up with any rule. Depends how it's sort of adopted. And this has become an additional timeout in the sense that you can use it. Of course, you're giving up a play for it, but you still have the timeout. It's a necessity. I'm sure it was adopted from the pro game, you know, where they've done it too. It's helpful. You know, if you have the situation where you need it, it's a great rule. If you don't have the situation or you're never in that position, then it doesn't matter to you anyway.
I'd like to talk about the other big rule that has recently been adopted. That's the mercy rule. And Jim Zach and Carmen DeFrancesco, I think you two are probably the best to talk about that, because you're usually on the end where somebody needs to be have some mercy applied. Jim, what do you think of that rule?
Well, Carl, first I want to go back to that spiking rule.
Okay.
Since you'd mentioned that Jim Roth kind of got that in. Last year we did use the spike, and we're down at Southern Columbia right before the half. But instead of spiking the ball, we faked it and threw a touchdown pass. However, the referee blew the whistle and said the touchdown was null and void, and that's a pretty big turnaround. So I guess it's ironic that Jim helped get that rule. But in terms of the mercy rule, I think it's good on both sides of the ball. If I'm down by 35 points or more, I don't have 50 players to get in the game or so on and so forth. So it keeps the clock going. I think it keeps kids from dragging out with 400 penalties at the end of the game. And if you're up by that much, you know, certainly that's a good thing. It's not always going to be that way. But it keeps the clock moving, and the younger guys get playing time. But on the other hand, it doesn't make the game go 3 or 4 hours. So I think it's a great rule.
Carmen, what do you think of that? The mercy
Jim brought up some really, I never thought about it that way. I didn't like the rule until I just heard what he had to say, and I never thought of it from that angle. But we have a lot of players. We have 51 players, and I don't know. I really don't. I kind of think I like to let it play the way it was so we can kind of get the kids in the game, because you know, you like to get all the kids in the game. And I never thought about the other points. I was just against the rule till I heard that, and he has some good points about that. So if they change it, I'll be happy. If they get rid of it, I'll be happy. If they don't, that's okay too.
But to be the devil's advocate, if you were on the other end and you were getting hammered, don't you think it would be a better thing for your kids for the morale?
Yeah, that's a good point. He made that. But then again, if you're getting hammered, you just get the young guys in and let them play a little bit. And I remember from my playing experience long time ago, real long, just getting into a varsity game, just running out on a field on Friday nights, the lights and the crowds. For a sophomore, I think it's just a great experience. And even if it is on the wrong end of the score, just being out there rolling around, you know, trying to play a little bit. So I really don't have any feeling about it. If I had my choice, I'd like them to get rid of it. But if they don't, that's okay too.
You bring up a very good thing about the excitement of high school football. You just can't beat it.
No, there's nothing like that. And you know, we really make that a good point to our kids. You know, we want them excited about being in the magical place of F.Q. Hartman Stadium and in that beautiful locker room. And I'm trying to put a plug in for a brand new stadium.
Right.
But no, you're right. The lights, the cheerleaders, the band, and when a young sophomore runs out there, it's great for him. So the more times he can run out there and get a couple plays in, the better, I guess.
You've all been involved in games where you had so many people there, and that's just a great thing. I remember particularly the Southern Columbia game 2 years ago. That was just an incredible crowd.
That was something I've never, and I've played in front of big crowds, but that was something special because of the fact our people were standing everywhere. And when you get the crowd up against the field like that and up on a hill and on a bank, it was really something special. And we had a great crowd at Jim's place last year. I think that's the biggest crowd since I've been here. I've seen a Warrior run, and we gave the fans their money's worth there.
I had the pleasure of being doing both those games for telecast, and it's just something special.
Yes.
You don't get too many chances to do things like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Max Schneider.
Carl, back to the mercy rule. For some of the novices out there, maybe they're not sure what the mercy rule is. That's when one team gets ahead of another team by 35 points. I have mixed emotions with that. You know, a team gets down 35-0, and that mercy rule stays in effect the rest of the game. Let's just say we come out in the first half and everything goes wrong for you. All of a sudden you're down 35-0. You come out the second half and score 2 quick touchdowns. The clock continues to run. You now don't have a chance to come back into that game. As far as the mercy rule, I like the mercy rule, but I believe what should happen after the 35 points becomes a 27-point deficit or whatever, it should stop. Because, like I said earlier, you're 35-0 half, come back in, make a couple adjustments, come out, you score 2 quick touchdowns, it's 35-14, you score again, it's 35-20. You run out of time because that clock just continues to run. And that's the rule part I'd like to see change. Once the 35 points is eliminated, let's go back to a regular football game.
Ira, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you take that into consideration, just our Warrior run game, as you had mentioned before, it was 2 games. It was a Lewisburg first half, it was a Warrior run second half. If you had taken away the opportunity for Warrior run to come back in the second half, and in some essence, you know, 35 is a lot of points, but it's still, you know, it's been done. It's been done in the past. You know, to take away the opportunity for some team to actually maybe get something going and to come back. You know, there's something that's inequitable there too. I guess maybe, you know, Mac's suggestion is a good suggestion that once he gets back under there, you know, go back to stopping the clock. And the other point that Carr made is, which is what I truly believe, is that we have players who want to play.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and that's the real purpose of what we're doing out there. You know, in the end result. And by running this clock, we're taking away playing time. We're taking away opportunities for some kids that may be their only dream, their only chance to be on the field.
Can I make one more comment? Max had another good point there. And also, what he said just made me think, as coaches, it's almost when that thing goes into effect, what do we say to that team? It's like we've quit. I mean, hey, the referees have said the game's over.
Right.
And you don't ever want to give your kids that impression that, hey, we don't have a chance to come back now. You know, and
it's taken out of the team's hands.
It's really just about saying to your kids, the game's over, guys.
We've all been in situations where the snowball effect takes over. I can remember wrestling matches, for example, to change sports for a second, where it was all, in the early weights, it was all one team. In the second half of the wrestling match, it was all the other team, and it just snowballs, especially with high school kids. They really get the feeling that they can do it. We'll be back with some closing comments right after this.
Design your art-carved class ring. Made in your own image, or make your statement elegant with our diamond collection. Choose the look that says you. Visit our design studio at Fetters Jewelers, 65 South Front Street, Milton.
The law firm of Robert E. Benyon, located at 205 Broadway in Milton, handles the general practice of law, including divorce and domestic matters, wills and estates, real estate and mortgages, business formation and bankruptcy, and Social Security disability. For your consultation, call 742-9677.
wants you to know your NASCAR on the Superstation. Wham, bam, it's America's Grand Slam. We swing harder. Feeling right? We're gonna do this day and night. Rushing ahead, watch him swing. Hit it short, get off the court. Serving ace and you rock the place. We swing harder. Come on, let's make a racket. We swing harder. Swing by the U.S. Open. August 30th through September 12th. It's on USA, baby.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Rickard from Cartoon Fridays. Every Friday night, you'll see Dexter's Lab, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Cow and Chicken, the Powerpuff Girls. You'll also see Johnny Bravo, I Am Weasel, and the What a Cartoon Show.
Cartoon Network, Fridays, starting at 7:30.
Once again, we are here with our area football coaches, and there's something that we've been debating during the commercial, and that is the possibility of spring football practice. Max, what do you think of that?
Well, through our discussion here, I'm not in favor of spring football practice. I believe a kid has to be an all-around athlete. We've got a lot of kids at Milton that run track, play baseball, and I encourage them to do that. Not only that, but I'm also a softball coach myself, and I enjoy coaching girls softball. And at that time, you know, I'd probably have to make a decision what I'm going to do. Go to my football or stay with my softball. Now, I understand that the comments have been made it's going to be like the last 2 weeks of school where all these things are over with, but in our situation, we're generally in the thick of things with softball, and it could go into the end of the year, and I'm not in favor of spring football.
Jim, where did this whole thing come from, and are you in favor of it?
The Coaches Association, some of, I think, the larger school coaches, you know, think it's a good idea. Certainly, I think it's a bad idea. I like the idea of able to use bags and things in some off-season, and all the coaches here certainly are engaged in that. You know, currently, I think, you know, we've always had a practice where a coach doesn't recruit players from a kid that's in a sport, and, you know, and that's changed somewhat. You know, even in our place, we have coaches who try to recruit kids off your team to play the sport in the same season. If you go to spring practice, I think you're only add to that conflict. Kids shouldn't have to make a choice of what sport to play. They should play all the sports they can, and, you know, forget about specialization and fall baseball, this, that, and the other thing. So no, I'm not in favor of that.
Ira, you had a player last year who, if he decided to play fall baseball, that would have been his football career, and what a shame that would have been for Lewisburg. What do you think of spring practice for football?
I'm totally against it. I'm against the idea of the specialization. I coached high school baseball this year on Lewisburg, and this idea of fall baseball, I think, is misguided. I think the idea of spring practice for football is misguided. They're high school students. They're high school kids. It's their last chance to enjoy the whole realm of sports and have fun and play it. And I think anybody who doesn't take advantage of that is misguided and losing a special time of their life to something else.
Carmen?
I really don't. I'm a football coach, I guess, but I really wouldn't. My son just taking. I'm a dad too, and I have a son that runs a track, and most of our kids play all the sports, which I think is great. I guess if it wouldn't interfere, I think Max made a point about it wasn't going to start till the last week or two of school. If it didn't interfere with the playoff picture, rather than have kids hanging out doing nothing, I'd like to spend a couple of extra week with them. But it doesn't matter to me. If they voted in, if they say we can have spring practice, I'm going to try to have spring. If they don't, that's okay too. But I really don't have any preference.
But you mentioned, Carmen, about this game being a full year anyway, if you're going to be prepared for it. But to throw in another couple of weeks of football?
Well, I think it's 7 days, and half of them are in shorts and helmets. And from our standpoint, we have such a, our whole athletic program is really successful. We have baseball teams in a play us every year. Track, we have a lot of guys going to state, so I don't foresee it happening for us. If they allowed it, we wouldn't be able to have it anyway because most of our kids are playing spring sports. So I don't have a comment either way about it.
Ira, another comment.
I was going to say, but then what's to stop, say, basketball or wrestling to also have that spring practice session at the same time? And now they have to choose: am I a football player, am I a basketball player, am I a baseball player? And I think that's eventually what we're asking people to do, and it's unfair. It's wrong.
I'd like to thank you, coaches, for being with us today, all four of you. We wish you the best of luck during the season. We here at CCN are committed to bringing you all our area teams in action. We hope that you'll be with us for that. Drop us a line, you at home, or call your local cable office and tell us how you think we're doing. Thank you, fans, for being with us today. For Larry Zapataki, for Ron Podlesny, and for Joe Kirkner, our technical people, this is Carl Bauer saying see you next time on CCN. So long, everybody.